Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everyone. As custom, going back through reviewing last week's game with Texas Tech. Again, compliments to Texas Tech. Played an excellent game and really beat us on every part of the game. I said this after the game. I think if you're ever or when you're able to beat Tech, I think you have to play them. You beat them as a team, and I say that because I think defensively we weren't able to come up with stops. They really moved the football on us, and I think a big part of it was due to their ability to run the football. But then on third downs, we were they converted, I think, 8 of 17 or something like that. 8 of 17, I believe it was, on third down. So we couldn't get off the field, and they had a few long drives. And then with it, offensively, we couldn't stay on the field. We were 3 of 13 on third downs, and they end up with 15 minutes of possession time more than we did. And in the end, you've got to have them sitting down on the bench. You can't give them that many opportunities. Or, as I was asked a week ago, how sometimes we've been on, like we had a lopsided win against A&M. How does that happen? It happens by, both sides really playing well, and if you're on the other side of it, neither side playing very well, and you end up with lopsided scores when we have 3 turnovers, didn't get any. They have that many third down conversions, and we have that few. You end up, especially away from home, you're going to be in a bad situation. So, again, Tech played a good game, and we didn't play a very good game in any part. That leads us, I guess some guys that did. Tressway, again, hit the ball really well punting. Trent Williams had a good game, there. Jonathan Nelson he and Q Carter seemed to play well. Outside of that, there weren't many bright spots. So that leads us to this week, our final game of the year here with Oklahoma State, a team that's really playing well. You look at their ability to run the football, and then work some play action pass off of it. They have really been strong through the whole year. Their defense has made a lot of progress and improvement from a year ago, as most near the top of the league in most categories, and are playing very soundly, very well, and Toaston, their running back, one of the top rushers in the league, is really doing a great job running the ball. I'll be asked about their quarterback situation. In the end, we prepare for the offense, not the quarterback. They'll run the same plays regardless of which quarterback's in there, so that won't change our preparation at all. And fortunately, being here at home, we have played better here at home through the year, and hopefully our fans will jump in and give us some assistance this Saturday.
Where did you feel your defensive intensity and emotion was Saturday?
Oh, it was, I felt going in that it was what it needed to be, but in the end, I felt it was more, just, they executed and looked a little bit sharper than we did, and it doesn't take much to look bad defensively.
Bob, after the game, Brent said that he didn't feel the attitude was there defensively to stop the reason why Tech had so much success running the ball. We've heard so much about filling gaps and things. We understand, in some ways what you're trying to say. But is attitude even more important sometimes defensively?
Well, it's both. You could have all the attitude you want. If you're not in the right place, it isn't going to work. But being in the right place and making the tackle, or making the tackle for a 2-yard gain as opposed to a 5, is a big difference. So it's a little of both.
If Ryan doesn't play, does Austin definitely step over, or does Ronell get a chance in there too?
Austin will be first to go, but Ronell will get more snaps here this week.
Well, we've seen it throughout college football this year. When a quarterback goes out, just everything changes when you got to play with the backup. Is it a situation where, as opposed to say the NFL, colleges just can't adjust as much, can't work the guy as much, can't do all those things? I mean, why do we see college teams just sort of disintegrate when their quarterback goes out?
Well, I think it's first of all, I think a lot of it's just experience. In the end. You brought up the NFL. A lot of those guys have still played a lot of football, the ones that go in. The ones that haven't, I bet, struggle. that league or in any level of football. And the same thing here, I think. For instance, I think it's unfair to compare Landry's redshirt freshman year to Sam's, because Sam, had a year to prepare for it with all those snaps and goes in as a starter, whereas Landry is thrust into it after, going through spring and summer. That he gets snaps, of course, and all, but the number one guy usually gets more. But in the end, it's usually the backup doesn't have the experience and the maturity that the starter does. Therefore, usually it's hard to replace experience and maturity at any position, let alone the quarterback.
Bob, would you continue on that theme, sort of talking about leadership, because you've lost 3 senior captains and a lot of other guys, especially on the offensive side?
Yeah, it's changed. It's made it incredibly difficult. When you lose, not just when you have injuries, but when you have them to seniors and guys that have played, have that experience, have that maturity, have the presence in the huddle, and then you remove it. There's a void there, and you can't replace it. And you try to, you do you work around it, but in the end, a lot of those seniors are major players and guys that have earned that respect and leadership by their time on the field. And they're all great kids, but you really have a hard time leading if you're not playing. If you're not the one sweating, you're not the one black and blue in the huddle. It's hard to have a lot to say.
Well, what do you do then?
Well, you try to get other guys to do it, but again, your chemistry's constantly changing, but you're asking me, can you replace that? No, you don't. It's not in a short period of time. You can't.
How do you get there? How do you get this team pumped up? Because obviously it's a bigger game for Oklahoma State. They're playing for a BCS bowl game. So how do you get your team saying, "Hey, this is"?
Well, I think in the end it's all about improving our situation, improve our lot. We have a chance to improve, to win a game, and that's what, to me, that's the biggest motivation, is just trying to improve our situation, and that's where you would get the most motivation, is looking at what is your situation, how can we improve it, and that's what our focus will be on.
Bob, when you look at the respective first years for Sam and Landry, you also must consider the supporting cast.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I should have brought that up too, and the circumstances in which you're playing, and all the changes that we've had through in particular offensively through the year have been a lot to deal with, and so it really, they're not on the same playing field. It's not fair to compare them, for a lot of those reasons.
I know everybody wants to sit there and look at Landry on his own and say, well,
yeah, that's not.
Maybe he's not playing as well down the stretch, but do you take into account the linemen that he's lost, things like that?
Absolutely. I'm very aware of that, of what's, his supporting cast and how it's been changed and altered through the whole year, and it's been a challenge for him to manage, as well as coaches and players, and that's what we got. So they're doing the best they can with it. Sometimes we've managed it well, other times we haven't, just overall.
Bob, you said that Patrick O'Hare had the strongest leg on this team. What's kept him from being your kickoff specialist as opposed to Moreland?
Well, and I say with field goals, he's had the strongest leg. He doesn't kick the ball as well as Matt has on kickoffs, nor have any of the other guys.